Welcome back to another episode of Ball Don't Lie. I'm Jacob Fraser with my co-host Cam Connolly. Cam, how's it going?
Good, man. Good. It was a exciting week. High school basketball started up in BC, so it's been a lot of hoops this week, but I'm ready to talk about it, debrief.
Yeah, for sure. You're coaching this season, aren't you?
Yeah, I got two teams. I got a grade eight boys team and a senior boys team. Definitely a
Nice.
contrast.
Yeah, for sure. For today's episode, we're probably going to keep it a bit shorter. You got a men's league basketball game to get to, so won't keep you too long. But we'll kick things off with our weekly recap, and then we'll get into some standings check-ins, talk about some international basketball, and then our two weekly segments of MVP and LVP and our Canadian Hooper highlight. So let's get into it. Let's start things off with the weekly recap. Shams reporting that Seth Curry is signing with the Golden State Warriors to unite with his brother Steph. Um, I mean, it's fun. Does he really provide anything to that Golden State Warriors team, though?
Uh, Probably not. I think he's just a worse buddy healed. And I mean, I don't know if you're trying to shift something on. Maybe you're trying to shift the vibes in the room. The Golden State's not off to the start that a lot of people thought they would be. With Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler there, you kind of I don't know necessarily like what the full expectation was. I get a little bit blinded by my fan bias, but I definitely didn't expect them to be 11 and 10 at this current moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like maybe it's I think we've all read the stuff about how Giannis can't play well unless the Thanasis is there, so maybe it's they're taking something from that, bringing in Seth Curry to help boost Steph Curry a bit. Steph Curry hasn't really been playing bad, but I wouldn't say he's himself. But you have to hope that it's just a little bit of a downtick and not Father Time starting to take his toll on him.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I mean, do you really want to be taking notes from the Milwaukee Bucks right now, though? 9-12
uh,
to start the season.
I wouldn't want to be taking notes. But yeah, it's been it's been rough as a Warriors fan. I mean, I can't complain too much. We are in a play-in spot, but
Mm-hmm.
rather be in a playoff spot.
Yeah, we'll get into our standings check in a bit here, as I mentioned. But before that, we'll keep going with the weekly updates here. Anthony Davis returned to the Dallas Mavericks lineup against the Los Angeles Lakers the other night. Obviously, the Lakers were able to take down the Mavs in that game, but just a solid piece to get back for the Mavericks. Obviously, their best player. Can you see their season turning around a bit now with Anthony Davis being back in the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, anyone who was like itching for some Anthony Davis basketball, you guys can actually thank me because he only came back this week because I was playing against him in fantasy. So yeah, but as far as turning the season around, it's hard to say because that Lakers team, and I hate to admit this, they look really good right now. And Luka Doncic is an elite player, so I know that AD sat out the second half of that back to back because who's surprised by that? I guess no one. But I do kind of hope that they'll turn it around just because it kind of sucks seeing them go from what they were at this point last year to what they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I mean, we've touched on this a million times, but just an awful downfall. It was such a fun team out there in Dallas. I do think that the only way they can go is up with AD coming back in the lineup. I don't think that they can get worse than what they are. But yeah, do you think they're going to get back up? I mean, or that he's going to like bring them back up? I don't know. I don't even know if they could really make a play and push.
I mean, they're only 2 games back right now. The Memphis Grizzlies are in that last play-in spot at 8-12, and the Mavs are 6-15. So they're not far off. And I mean, in basketball, you add a superstar player like Anthony Davis, your team can turn around and win a lot more games. Like maybe I don't know, four of those games become wins, and now suddenly you're a 10-11 team rather than 6-15, right? So
Yeah,
I think they can turn it around. I don't think I see them making a top six playoff spot, but I could see them definitely being in the play in.
yeah. I mean, and another thing to consider with Anthony Davis is his availability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's the old saying, availability is the best ability, and how available is he going to be, even though like, he's technically back? Like, if he's sitting out the second half of a back to back, I just it's hard to picture them making a legitimate push. And then come playoff time, let's say they squeak into the play-in and they make a playoff. They make it to the playoffs. They win the play-in. they're just being sacrificed. There's no way that I don't know. There's no way that team is going to do anything. I don't think.
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely going to rely a lot on whether or not Anthony Davis can stay healthy for the remainder of the season. That's yet to be seen. And honestly, it's probably unlikely that he is healthy for the rest of the season. But I mean, if they can find a way to get another 40 or so good games out of Anthony Davis this year, then I think they've got a good shot at making the play in still.
Yeah, always down. A Disney, Anthony Data Davis. It's a unfortunate nicknames to have, but unfortunately, it reflects his career at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Another just last update here. Chris Paul announced that this will be his final season in the NBA. What a career it's been for him. One of the greatest point guards of all time. Unfortunately, no ring. Could this year be the year?
Unfortunately, I do not think that this year will be the year for CP zero rings, but it's it was really an amazing career for the guy. I mean, the Lob City Clippers are one of my earliest basketball memories, and although they aren't the team that made me fall in love with basketball, they were one of the teams that made me like kind of turn my eyes and start watching a little bit of basketball. And they're nothing without Chris Paul. I mean, he has so many iconic moments too, like even outside the court, like Cliff Paul, and then there's all Devin Booker. I want two though, three. But another thing I think that kind of flies under the radar is his mentorship of Shea. Like
Mm-hmm.
Shea is very outspoken about how much of like a I don't know like father figure, but like older brother maybe of him. And even when I was watching Starting Five, I just finished it last week. During the finals, Shea was on FaceTime with Chris Paul. I think it was after game one. He was talking. He's giving some reassurance. Like it's just his impact is so much farther than off the or than on the court. Like his off the court impact is like arguably just as large. And yeah, it's a shame to see him go, but I think it's time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we joke about him not winning a ring, and obviously he's back with the Clippers this season, so it's not going to happen unless he gets moved. But I'm sure he wants to retire a Clipper. Um, but yeah, like you said, just his mentorship for SGA, and I mean, it's just been an incredible season. He came second in MVP voting his third year in the league. Like it, it's crazy because he hasn't won a ton of he hasn't won a bunch of awards or anything, but I think a lot of people like I was actually talking to a friend of mine the other day about this. There's definitely an argument for him to be a top 5 point guard of all time, despite the fact that he doesn't have the accolades necessarily to go with it.
Yeah, well, he was just like so elite and like almost honestly in a way that you think about like there's the old like joke like Jeff Teague was at everything. Like Chris Paul was kind of at everything. He was there when Steph Curry broke out. He was there mocking the Warriors. He choked the lead to the Warriors. He was on that James Harden team. Almost every significant moment that has happened in the last couple of years, like even in his tenure in the NBA, he's been a part of.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into our standings check in here. What team has surprised you the most to start this season?
One of the teams that surprised me the most up to this point, unfortunately, is the Lakers. I really don't like the Lakers. I'm really waiting for them to fall off, and it's gonna happen. I'm not worried it's gonna happen. But Luka Doncic has just really came to his own. Like he's just I I'm not surprised because I know that he is this good, but I am a little surprised that he's found his footing as well as he has in LA. I thought that he was kind of like a smaller market personality who wouldn't flourish under the bright lights of LA with all the extra pressure. Like I just didn't think that was in his person, but I guess that's why I'm not a NBA GM and I'm not a I'm just a guy who talks on a podcast. But yeah, and I really hate to admit it, but the Lakers are looking like a legitimate player in the West.
Yeah, I my team that I was gonna say has been for me the Detroit Pistons. The Lakers were definitely up there, but just the Pistons have been off to such a great start to the season. Obviously, 16-4 to start the year. But last season they were a 6 seed, and I know we've talked about this in the past, and the East is wide open, but they were definitely not the team that I had expected to be breaking out this year.
No, definitely not. And like, I think I said that I thought this would be kind of like a stepping stone year, but it looks like they skipped all the steps and suddenly they're a legit threat out of the East, which in other years you could it's still surprising. In other years I think it would have been a little more surprising, but I'm still surprised to see them at this moment ahead of the Knicks and ahead of the Cavs.
Hmm.
And I guess while we're on the topic, we might as well talk about the Raptors too, because I I had my clip that actually kind of got like a decent amount of views where I said the Raptors can finish first in the East. I don't I didn't actually think it was going to happen. I thought it could happen, but I think it would happen. And they're looking good. I mean, they've hit a bit of a road bump in the last couple games, and I'm hoping that they can kind of pull themselves out of it. But that's a team in the East that's really shocked me at this moment.
Yeah, I watched their game the other or last night actually against the Charlotte Hornets, and they should have been able to close that one out, and it would have been a 10 game win streak after that one. But unfortunately, they weren't able to. Concanipple hit a crazy three to tie the game with like 6 seconds left or something like that. So, but yeah, they're definitely another team that's surprised me. Who's a team that surprised you in like a negative way? Like who have you expected to do better than they actually are? I feel like the Clippers and the Pelicans are two for me.
Yeah, I mean, I have two kind of main ones. I thought I have the Charlotte and I have the Pelicans, like you were saying. But the Pelicans are a little bit more surprising to me. I mean, Charlotte is going to Charlotte at the end of the day. They're unfortunately just a franchise that'll be forever stuck. It feels like in the basement of the league, but I really thought the Pelicans were going to take a step this year. I thought Jordan Poole was going to fit in well. I thought Zion looked like a new person. They had the addition of Derek Queen, who is actually playing really well, regardless of all this kind of terribleness around him. But Jordan Poole is, when he's not injured, he's still not playing that well. And I mean, I haven't even heard about Zion, to be honest. I can't even tell you if he's been playing well or not. If I haven't been hearing about him, I'm going to assume that he hasn't been that great. But yeah, I was really hoping that they would take a step because that's a team that would be really fun to watch if they were clicking on all cylinders, and that'd be a really fun team to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it looks like Zion's been in and out of the lineup a little bit. But yeah, I mean, they have Jeremiah Fears too, who I really liked out of Oklahoma. Derek Queen, like you said, obviously they massively overpaid for Derek Queen's draft rights at the NBA draft in June or July, whenever it was. But yeah, I'm surprised by the fact that they're dead last in the West. Like I don't think I expected them necessarily to be a top 6 seed, but I definitely expected a play-in team out of that roster. And then
Yeah.
I, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm on the same page. I actually thought they could finish top six, so maybe I was just deluded by hope. But like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I said on the podcast I jumped on their bandwagon to start the year,
Hmm.
but I'm still on the bandwagon, guys. All right, I know I can't quote their stats off the top of my head. I don't get their games where I live. All right, and I'm not an illegal streamer, but it's yeah, it's just disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into some international basketball talk because I wanted to point this out. It's kind of crazy. Like people have been talking about this for a few years now, for sure, but just the fact that you look at the league leaders in points per game, like you look at the top five, three of them are international players: Luka Doncic, SGA, and Giannis. And then you've got Jokic at 7, you've got Markkanen at 12, Wemby at 15, Denny Avdia at 18. Like there's so many international players on the come up and so many international teams on the come up. Who who are some teams that you're looking at that could be a legit threat in international basketball for the future?
Yeah, well, I'm a little biased here, but I'm huge on Canada. I really truly think that Canada is going to be the team to beat in a few years. But I think that it's very reliant on Zach Edey kind of taking a step because when you actually like break down the rosters and stuff, Canada almost has a perfect roster. They have a star, and Shea. They have a secondary star in Jamal Murray if Jamal Murray can figure out how to play in FIBA, but that's a different conversation. They have RJ Barrett, who's like a great third guy, can play the two role easily off of Shea. Dylan Brooks can slot in. Where do they lack? They lack in the big. If Zach Edey can kind of figure something out and figure out how to be like a legitimate guy, the team that gave him problems and they lost to in Paris was France because of Wemby. And Zach Edey was supposed to be on that team, but he decided he wanted to get ready for the NBA. First of all, Zach Edey, you're dead to me for that until you put a Canada jersey on. Uh, Secondly, if Zach Edey was on that team, you don't know. Maybe he could have gave him Wemby a bit of a fit. He's an extremely oversized center, and I believe he's 7'1", seven
Who's Zach
two.
Edey?
Yeah,
Zach Edey 7'4".
yeah, 7'4". Wemby 7'5". So right there, you're neutralizing one of Wemby's biggest advantages. Obviously, Wemby's going to be quicker, but I
Mhm.
truly think that Canada can be in 2028 in LA. I
Mhm.
think they could be on the podium potentially with a gold medal around their neck.
Yeah, you mentioned Zach Edey like matching up with a guy like Victor Wembanyama, and the thing with international rules too is there's no like 3 or 5 second in the paint rule, right? So Zach
Yeah,
Edey can live in the paint, and that would cause problems for Victor Wembanyama, at least on the interior. Obviously, he's a guy that can play all three levels and score from anywhere on a basketball court. So there's no stopping a guy like Victor Wembanyama, but Zach Edey will at least put up the best fight possible. And then with the U.S., you've got Joel Embiid at center there now. Such a I hate that. First of all, we
yeah,
don't need
that's
to get
that's
into it,
that's
but
BS.
yeah, like he can match up well, and that you're right. That's what they've been missing. Like they've been going Dwight Powell and Kelly Olynyk, who are very good, solid vets to have at the FIBA level, but you need a X factor. But yeah, like a guy like Denny Avdia, he's been putting up some incredible numbers in the NBA this season. Sorry, but yeah, and Israel's another country that had some guys drafted in the first round this past year. I think they've got another kid on the come up in this upcoming NBA draft as well. They've got a senior at the University of Houston who is really good. Like, I don't know, are they another team that could potentially be a threat?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm right, but did he just transfer there to Houston this year? I feel like I read that somewhere, but I don't even know his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't remember. I had it up, but I'll pull it up one sec.
Yeah, but
Um,
I mean, while you're doing that, like as you're saying, like they had they have two or three first round picks this year. Brooklyn has, I think Brooklyn took two of them,
yeah,
and yeah, I mean that's a great pipeline for Israel, and they're a lot of those guys are a lot of lengthy wings, so I do feel like they need a guard and they need like a trustworthy like big, or else they're going to be like a oversized, undersized team if that kind of makes sense. But that could definitely give teams fits, like especially a team like Canada, who is full of like they're an undersized team. So, but when you look at a team like Serbia, they definitely need to have a little bit more speed to kind of counteract a team like Serbia, who's just full of just ridiculously long wings and the ultimate X factor in Jokic.
yeah. I just looked it up. It's Emmanuel Sharp. He's played 4 years at Houston. He's been a 3 year starter there now. He's a senior, 6'3" point guard. But yeah, he's putting up great numbers. Obviously, University of Houston is known as like a very good program. They're coached extremely well. They play very good basketball. A guy like Jamal Shed came out of there for the Toronto Raptors, right?
Yeah,
Um, so
great
yeah, I
guard
mean,
school.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, they're a team that I think could do some damage. But yeah, and then are there any other teams that you can think of that could be a real threat?
Yeah, and I'm curious about a certain country, and obviously this country has been dominant in international hoops, and it's the United States. They they seem to be having like a downturn in like star power almost. Like as you talked about earlier, a majority of the top scorers are international players at this moment, and I'm curious if they're going to be able to keep kind of their stranglehold on basketball, like at the international level, because you saw Serbia almost take them out last year, and then they didn't need it. but they kind of needed that like godlike performance from Steph to close out that gold medal game. I don't know if they would have won without that. Like they might have, but I'm not 100% sure. And just seeing that is it's definitely I don't know. Like I'm they're obviously always going to be like the epitome of international basketball. I like to think where they're kind of the gold standard, and they're always going to have the biggest talent pool to pull from. I think, but I don't know if they have the best 12 players anymore like they had previously.
I think you look at their roster and depth wise, like they're going to be better than anyone for
Yeah.
sure. Like no other country in the world can put together 12 players that are going to be able to go up against the 12 best US head to head, like one for one, you know. But I think, yeah, you're right. Like you talk about a team like Canada, they've got their star play that they play through in SGA. The US doesn't really have that. They It's a bunch of guys that have that ability but don't necessarily know how to play off ball and things like that, right? Like you look at a guy like Anthony Edwards, he's the guy in Minnesota, he's been the guy at Georgia, everywhere he's played, he's been the guy. And so at international basketball, playing for Team USA, I don't know if he can give the ball up to say, I don't know, Jason Tatum or whoever is on that team because he's not necessarily the guy for Team USA.
No, but if there was to be a guy in the next 4 years, well, I guess 3 years now, I think Ant would be the guy, or maybe if Cooper Flag can kind of become what people think. I mean, the other thing you have to consider is these top three, top four guys in this upcoming draft class are ridiculous, and they're all American. So maybe there is a bit of what's the word? Uh, I'm blanking on the word, like a reload almost of American talent on the come up, but it's definitely not going to be what it used to be unless this draft turns out to be like the LeBron draft year, where it's just so many ridiculous guys.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move into our MVP and LVP for the week. I can kick things off with my MVP. We've talked about him, SGA. He had an unbelievable week: 36.4 points per game, 7.3 assists, 4 rebounds. But he shot 62% from the field and 69% from three. For a guy that's not necessarily known as being a great 3 point shooter, that's an unbelievable shooting split there. And I mean, we're used to these 36 point per game numbers from him, but I just thought the splits were too crazy to ignore.
Yeah, well, and when I first got into sports betting, I was like, oh, Shea to hit 1.5 threes, obviously I'm going to take the over, and it would burn me every single time. But to hear him shooting almost 70% from the three-point line, I mean, I'm not sure how many games he played last week, but
This is in
th
4 games.
4 games. That is just a ridiculous, ridiculous number, especially when you consider that he's playing on ball a lot, and when he's off the ball, he's being face guarded. He can't breathe. So he's not getting a whole lot of catch and shoot looks, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Like I can't even fathom shooting. I can't even shoot 70% wide open at Fitness Unlimited. I don't know what it's ridiculous, and I don't even know if Steph Curry's ever done that before. Obviously, Steph Curry will have a higher like attempts per game, but that's
Mhm.
still just ridiculousness.
Yeah, definitely. Who's your MVP this week?
Yeah, I went a little bit of an unconventional route this week, but I thought I should shout this guy out because I'd given him an LVP before, and that is Josh Hart. Now, he didn't have the most eye-popping numbers, but when you get into like a little bit more of the advanced numbers, he was just they popped off the chart there. Now, he averaged 16 points per game, which is a lot more than he was averaging earlier on in the year. 11.7 rebounds per game, which is definitely going to help contribute to a lot of Knicks wins. And if he can continue to play like this, they're going to be an even more legit threat in the East. 7 assists per game, 2.7 steals per game, 1.7 3-pointers per game, which I thought was pretty good for a guy like Josh Hart, who's not necessarily a shooting threat. Uh, yeah, 48.5% from the field, which isn't necessarily the greatest considering the shots that he takes. But the Knicks went 3-0, and he was a plus minus average of plus 17.3, which is just that is really good. Like
Mhm.
I think he was third in the last week in plus minus with those numbers, and that is that is the recipe for success that I talked about earlier when I gave Josh Hart the LVP. I think it was the second episode. So this isn't how he's going to contribute to wins. This is how he's going to contribute to wins. This is how the Knicks are going to be good. I think that Josh Hart is like the unsung hero of the Knicks, and if he can continue to do this, they're scary.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. He's the unsung hero of the Knicks. Like he's such an integral part of that team, despite the fact that he's not going to be a go-to guy. He's like their fifth or sixth option to score, right? But
Yeah,
his defense, his just the grit that he plays with is so big for the energy on a team, and like it's all the intangibles that he brings, and obviously like he there's a lot of chemistry there between him and Jalen Brunson. They're all the Villanova guys. Like it seems like been a very good vibe in New York for a few years now. But yeah, good to see Josh Hart putting up numbers like that on top of the
yeah,
fact that he provides all those intangibles.
yeah.
Um,
He just plays like the coach's dream. Just does what needs to be done and goes to like the dirty areas, gets it done, and Bob's your uncle.
yeah, for sure. Let's get into your LVP.
Yeah, this one hurt me to write down. I'm gonna be honest, and uh, it extra hurts because again, the guy on my fantasy team. I don't know. Like I said, my fantasy team is cursed. But LaMelo Ball hates basketball, and LaMelo Ball is one of my favorite players in the league. But it is clear to me that he's done in Charlotte. He doesn't want to be there anymore. Over the last few games, 13.7 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, and 5.7 assists per game. Which for a guy of LaMelo Ball's caliber, that's just not acceptable. 32.7% from the field and 26% from three on an average of -7 plus minus. Interestingly enough, LaMelo Ball finally played a back-to-back, and his numbers look like this. He just doesn't look engaged. He doesn't look interested. He wants out. It's time to move on. Time to give him a change of scenery. And I want the best for LaMelo Ball. I'm a huge fan, and it's it's not working anymore. It's time to move on.
Yeah, I would agree. The thing that I want to ask you though, like, does this hurt his trade value? The fact that he's playing that he looks this disinterested in playing, and that he's playing to this level right now.
I want to say it doesn't hurt his trade value because he was playing at his caliber at the beginning of the year, and then he turned his ankle and he was out for a few games, and he hasn't really been the same since he came back. He definitely looked better in his first few games that he came back, and then there was the trade rumor request, and ever since then he hasn't been the same guy. And he came out and publicly deny the trade request, but I think that anyone with a brain would come out and deny that trade request because then you just kind of look like petty and soft. But I truly, deep down in my heart, think that he did have a conversation with the front office and say that he wants something to change, whether it's him, whether it's people around him, but he needs some kind of change. And I find it interesting that with LaMelo Ball playing like this, Charlotte is doing good. So with Con Knuppel kind of stepping in and taking over almost the 1A role. And so if I'm Charlotte, I would almost capitalize on this and see what I can get for LaMelo Ball and kind of build off this roster because I'm starting to think that LaMelo Ball isn't going to be like an integral part of this roster, and he's someone you have to move on from. I think that it might just be mutually beneficial for both sides.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like I mentioned him earlier when I was watching the Raptors game last night, Conkinable. Um, yeah, he looks really good, and I think last I checked, he was top of the rookie ladder on the NBA rankings and everything. So yeah, you could probably get a good haul for him, and you could start to build around Knipple, Brendan Miller, Miles Bridges if you want to build around him. I don't know if you do, but um, yeah, I feel like it's definitely time for Charlotte to move on from LaMelo Ball. For my LVP this week, I've got Chris Middleton. 8 points per game, 2.7 assists, 41% from the field, 20% from three. Obviously, he's not playing in a good organization anymore. He's no longer a Milwaukee Buck, but I don't know if I'd consider him the go-to guy in Washington, but he definitely can't be putting up 8 points per game for that team to be successful.
No, and Chris Middleton has had one of like the biggest drop-offs in star production out of almost anyone that I can think of. It's he just hasn't found a way to revamp himself ever since I can't remember if he had a catastrophic injury or not. I want to say he did, but I might be wrong. But regardless, he has seen such a downtick in his numbers that it's ridiculous. And honestly, like, is he even a guy that you can have on your team and be successful? It doesn't really look like it. Like he just is like a team blow upper. Like if you wanna, he's a, what's the word? Tank commander. He's turned into a tank commander, which I guess is the way that he plays isn't so surprising. But there was a time where I would be shocked to hear that Chris Middleton was the tank commander.
Yeah, I think it's just at this point in his career, like that's what he is. I think he's still on a fairly large contract too, so you wouldn't expect a contending team to want to take that on anyway. So yeah, it is an unfortunate fall off. I was just pulling up his stats. Like his last full season in Milwaukee, he was averaging 15 points per game, and then the next season he averaged 11.9, and that was split between Milwaukee and Washington. And now he's down to 9.7. So it's a pretty large fall off there for him. And yeah, it's unfortunate. I liked Chris Middleton when he was with the Milwaukee Bucks, but yeah, just a bad week for him. Let's finish things off here and get into our Canadian Hooper highlight. I thought the easy way to go was SGA, but since I gave him my MVP for the week, I decided let's just go with Jamal Murray, who also had a great week with the Denver Nuggets. 27.8 points per game, 7.6 assists, 2.8 rebounds, 55% from the field, and 54% from three. We talked about him a little bit when we were talking about international basketball. We've given him the Canadian Hooper highlight before on our show, but just another great week from Jamal Murray.
Yeah, and like Denver is doing really well. They're 14-5 right now, which it's not surprising at all. But it's nice to see Jamal Murray revamp himself. I guess I just said that about Chris Middleton, how he can't revamp himself, but Jamal Murray has revamped himself. And there was a lot of doubters surrounding Jamal Murray, and I've been on here defending him. I'm always going to be a fan of Jamal Murray. I remember what was it? 2015 when he first got into the league, right? When he first got into the league, he had a player camp out here. My brother went to it. It was actually Jamal Murray and Dylan Brooks who put it on. And ever since that day, I've been a fan of both of them. Dylan Brooks is still at Oregon during this time. But it is really awesome to see Jamal Murray kind of come back into that two, like he's not even 1B because Jokic is 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, 1F. But just be that secondary guy on that Denver team, it's really good to see. And Christian Braun has actually been out, and Jamal Murray has stepped up and filled that role. You can't even really tell Christian Braun isn't there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he like I said, he had a great week, but he's had a great season. Like he's been unbelievable. He possibly even putting himself in a all-star conversation here. But yeah, like you said, it's just been great to see him revamp himself because we talked about this before. Like he'd kind of fallen off a bit after their finals run, but this season, 24 points per game, shooting almost 50% from the field. Like I would say he is a legit all-star this season so far.
Yeah, and he's shooting 41% from three,
Yeah.
which is like I don't know how do we have so many 40% 3-point shooters anymore. But this is just an interesting side clip. Uh, Denver has one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. They have seven guys shooting over 40% from three. That's crazy. I don't even, if you look in 2012, I guarantee you that there is not one team with more than three guys shooting 40% from three, if there's even one guy. So that is just insane side note. But yeah, Jamal Murray, like coming off the ACL tear, like I've said before, just great player and found a way to work within his limitations of that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think we can wrap things up there unless there's anything else you wanted to get to.
No. Best of luck to all of the BC high school basketball players as the season just started. Long season. Don't panic if you have a bad game for all of our lovely fans from BC high school basketball. But yeah, it's a long season. Go till March. Don't panic, and yeah, enjoy the ride.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, and thank you guys for listening. Be sure to check out our other shows on the Horizon Media YouTube channel, and make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on our socials that are linked below. And thank you for watching.